After just a few weeks on the job, United States Navy Secretary John Phelan was abruptly fired. A high-profile Pentagon dispute over a multi-billion-dollar shipbuilding contract ended his tenure almost before it began. To understand the massive financial and political machinery driving the military-industrial complex, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We dive deep into the mechanics of global defense every week. This chart shows the current size of the U.S. Navy fleet measured against a strict legal mandate. By federal statute, the Navy is required to maintain a fleet of 355 ships. They are failing to hit that number, and the gap between what the military needs and what it actually has is growing. The largest and most expensive projects in the pipeline are severely delayed. The advanced Ford-class aircraft carriers are consistently missing their scheduled deployment dates. The failures extend beneath the surface. Virginia-class nuclear submarines, critical assets for deep-water deterrence, are locked in dry docks, lagging years behind production deadlines. Operational decay on this scale is why the Trump administration tapped John Phelan in early 2025. As an executive with a background in complex business deals, he was tasked with importing the same aggressive turnaround tactics used to salvage failing corporations. During his confirmation hearings, Phelan laid out a harsh diagnosis. He told the Armed Services Committee that he had analyzed thousands of failing organizations, and the most common refrain among them was always, "This is how we've always done it." He viewed rigid tradition as an active threat to adaptability and trust. Bringing a professional disruptor to overhaul a failing branch set the stage for a massive collision between private sector efficiency and military culture. Phelan identified the root of the shipbuilding crisis down on the factory floor. The defense industrial base is bleeding skilled labor. When a trained shipyard welder can walk outside the gate and make a competitive wage working a low-stress job at a convenience store, complex manufacturing grinds to a halt. To fix this, he proposed importing private sector accountability. During his hearings, lawmakers suggested benchmarking the availability of Navy ships against commercial operators like Carnival Cruise Lines or Maersk, noting that a private company with the Navy's low maintenance metrics would have gone bankrupt years ago. Phelan agreed entirely. He also pushed to modernize the arsenal and abandon outdated legacy weapons. He advocated for systems like the Helios Directed Energy Program, a laser-based defense network designed to take out cheap, incoming drone threats in regions like the Red Sea. This chart shows the corporate math of modern warfare. A traditional interceptor costs $2 million per shot. The Helios Directed Energy Laser costs 50 cents. Phelan planned to enforce these upgrades using KPIs, tying contracts to strict metrics that reward speed and punish delays. Applying the logic of private equity to the Pentagon's supply chain sounded highly effective on paper, but it set Phelan on a direct collision course with the inflexible, non-market reality of defense contracting. The breaking point arrived quickly. The flashpoint of Phelan's sudden exit was a high-stakes dispute over a specific $17 billion contract for the new Trump-class warship. Phelan expected defense contractors to operate like any private vendor competing for business. Instead, he found that the Navy relies on a tiny handful of massive shipbuilding monopolies that have zero incentive to absorb risk or accept corporate-style financial penalties. The military-industrial complex operates on political capital and job creation across congressional districts, not free market competition. Contractors in this ecosystem are fundamentally insulated from standard business consequences. When Phelan tried to force these massive corporate entities to bend to standard market efficiencies, he lost. The ideological dispute triggered an immediate Pentagon shakeup, and Phelan was ousted. Wall Street rules simply do not function inside the Pentagon. A corporate KPI cannot override a politically entrenched economic ecosystem. The public reaction was cynical and swift. Military forums and Reddit threads lit up with active service members mocking Phelan's impossibly short tenure, joking about how many Scaramucci's he lasted, and noting that he would likely return to a safe, lucrative private sector job. With Phelan gone, the administration tapped Hung Cao to take over as acting Secretary of the Navy, leaving him to manage the vacuum. Cao brings a very different philosophy to the table. Rather than relying on financial restructuring and contractor penalties, Cao's stated focus is on harnessing the intrinsic desire of young recruits who are eager to serve. Cao argues that the military needs to empower a generation that grew up in the digital age, used to technology evolving at quantum speeds. He believes their natural problem-solving abilities will cut through bureaucratic red tape from the bottom up. But digital optimism clashes violently with the physical realities of naval warfare. Software cannot weld a hull. Apps cannot construct a dry dock. The Navy requires massive amounts of heavy physical labor and raw industrial materials. Changing the leadership at the top fails to repair the rot on the factory floor. The stakes of this bureaucratic dysfunction are lethal. The Navy is operating at an inflection point against near-peer adversaries in the Pacific. Maintaining global security has always required immense sacrifice. The battle for the Navy's survival is fought within dry docks, along supply chains, and throughout the committee rooms of Washington.